Hi everyone, I'm Francesco Bertonna, Game Director at Safe Play Studio, and welcome to the behind the scenes of Venice 2089. Venice 2089 is a narrative-driven and explorative game set in a futuristic version of Venice, a city almost abandoned due to the effects of climate change. You play as Nova, a bored teenager that returns to their hometown for a summer vacation. Nova wants to just chill out from the routine, riding a noveboard or listening to some music, but soon they will be involved in the huge events that are taking place in Venice. The game was inspired by the narrative adventures like Night in the Woods and Nights and Bikes, but we wanted to set the story here in Italy, where Safe Play Studio is based. At the same time, we wanted to speak about our feelings in relation to the problems that more affect our current world. Climate change is already happening, and Venice is showing its effects as the tides are becoming higher and higher. We wanted to make more people aware of the situation, while explaining the point of view of people that live in the city, so we transported those ideas in a not so distant future where tides are a lot higher than nowadays. This way, we approach the topic of climate change from a different perspective. Nova is a anti-hero character that's not destined to save our world, which is already falling apart. Instead, they are an insecure teen that still hasn't found their life goal. Nova's issues could be the ones that we as people are feeling right now in the current times, trying to find out our own path to solve such a big problem while just surviving as individuals. Exploring the city of Venice, the player will be forced to orient themselves between the streets, meeting a bunch of characters, all with their own point of view on the climate change. Venice is both the strength and the challenge of this project. We worked hard to find the right balance between bringing the real city to life and creating a 2.5D navigation system, inspired by games like Feds. In fact, we often had to overrun the natural structure of the city, but in the end it was worth it, as navigating our Venice feels interesting, but also lets the player get a little bit lost while looking at this wonderful environment.
Hello, I am Alessandro, game engineer at Safe Play Studios, and I'm here to talk about our camera system. So, developing a well-working camera for our unique navigation system was a really challenging task that took us many months in order to polish and perfect. We needed our camera to make really sharp turns at each intersection while never feeling too jerky. In fact, in one of our very first tests, the movement was so sudden that gave us all motion sickness. We're happy to say that is no longer the case, and in contrast, the look of wonder when someone first makes a turn in our game is something we're really proud of. Another important thing we didn't immediately realize when developing our felt-like camera system was that it often needs to be placed inside or near a building. So, in order to make Nova always visible, we needed to develop some custom shaders that are able to understand when the camera is inside or behind the building. Another difficult aspect of our camera was keeping it on the same 2D axis while moving in a 3D environment. This often resulted in some unexpected behaviors and some squiggly movements while transitioning from one shot to another. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Ylenia 2D concept artist at Venice 2089. We think that one of the core strengths of our game is the charming visual style that brings cartoony 2D characters into a 3D environment. In fact, most of our effort to develop this art style were centered around blending these two very different aspects. At first, only the characters used to be flat, while everything else was three-dimensional. We wanted our characters to stand out from the rest of the game world, so that people could recognize them at a glance. While this was very successful, we slowly added more elements to the 2D world. For example, collectibles, graffiti, and some environment assets like plants and vases. This adds a lot more color and personality to the game, so we are working to make sure that every 2D element of Venice 2089 looks appealing and tasteful. Our flavor of the month, as far as 2D elements go, are the visual and particle effects. We're putting a lot of effort in expanding this part of the game, especially regarding the vibes. We want to fill the overboard experience with a lot of feedback and eye candy for our players.
Hello, this is Mari. I'm a game designer, and at Venice 2089 I mainly take care of the game feel. Today I will tell you all about vibes. Well, not actually all, because that would take at least 3 hours, and we unfortunately don't have the time for that. But I will tell you something cool about vibes. Vibes are those mysterious light particles that you see around the map while you're in fast exploration mode. And to find them, you just press shift and Nova jumps on their hoverboard, they put their headphones on, and then it's all about their inner world and the players too. Our game is mainly targeted at explorer players, so we wanted to give the right space to the raw feeling of running around, mind off. And we also wanted to make the player's experience unique, your way of exploring reflecting your mood, your attitude. Vibes are basically renditions, visual renditions of moods. Vibes influence the color of the trail of Nova's hoverboard in the dynamic soundtrack we made for this purpose, with multiple layers that are activated depending on which vibes you are catching. And we have three types of vibes. We have the yellow ones, the most common vibes. They are found in the central and more populated streets in Venice. They are intense and they are related to curiosity, to the pure joy of exploring. And then we have the red vibes, more rhythmic and more aggressive. They can be reached with more active and adventurous gameplay by performing tricks with your hoverboard, grinding on surfaces, jumping. Their sound is energetic. And last but not least, we have my favorite, the blue vibes, the more contemplative ones, and they can be found next to the most beautiful scenarios. Their nature is tranquil, nostalgic, the sound is melancholic. In a way, vibes also represent the natures of our three main characters. Yellow like curious Nova, red is active Leo, and blue is peaceful grandpa. At the end of each day, Nova receives a memory, a glass trophy that matches the color of the vibes they collected most that day. This is because we want Nova's room to be a visual diary of their week in Venice. However, the correlation between daily trophy and vibes wasn't very clear for most players, so we'll be working on that, on making that connection easier to spot. This and other feedback we received since the release of our Steam demo made us rethink a bit the system and how we can make it more meaningful, more satisfying, and less abstract. We realized that it's not clear what vibes do, what they're there for, what's their purpose basically. And we struggled with this from the start. Our friends who tested the game used to call them the shiny coins, and they were expecting something from them, to find them in Nova's backpack, to use them for something. And well, after the longest brainstorming session we ever had, only one point was clear, and it was that vibes are not game currency, and we had to fix the feeling that they were. They've had different looks throughout development. After the placeholder spheres, they became floating glass shards as a tribute to Venice's strong glass tradition and Grandpa's job as well. They were very pretty, but they had this very collectible-like appearance, and you kind of expected to be able to craft maybe something with them. Then they had many makeovers over the time until one weekend I was playing Sayonara with Hearts on Discord with the team, and they stopped and screamed, "These are vibes!" So over the weekend, me and other crazy people from the team gave them another whole new look, and they finally were something. They were light particles, they were completely imaginary, they were no physical item. And for the demo, that was it. We were close to the deadline, we had to bake the lighting, and we just said it's okay for now. But now, months later, we're getting to the much needed rework. We're focusing on making this system more meaningful, more satisfying, and well, we figured that one big problem is that on the demo, collecting vibes is very passive. You don't really choose what you pick. Like, if you want a blue trail, like I do, you have to actively avoid the vibes you don't want. And then we saw that most players just picked all vibes, and it's natural because vibes mix up, and the rainbow trail is the coolest to have, and the soundtrack is the richest with all the layers. So we are working on vibes as an active choice. You will need to perform a certain action to catch them, not just pass through them. And we want to make the different music tracks more powerful while making the rainbow trail really hard to achieve, like it's not worth it, baby. I'm kidding, but we're actually doing that. In the rework, you will see the particles around you in the environment, but to collect them, you'll need to vibe with them. This requires that you perfect your hoverboard riding. And well, Venice 2089 is not a skating game, but we have a hoverboard, so we'll try to implement more techniques, more stuff to do. And now I feel like I've talked a lot actually, so I'll just give you a sneak peek into our sketches. You can see here jumping in puddles and floating in the air and grinding on platforms. This is just a preview, so it may be subject to change over time, so you haven't seen anything. I'll just say bye now, and I'll leave the rest to our sound designer and composer Giovanni, who will show you how our dynamic soundtrack is made. Goodbye and thank you.
Hi, my name is Giovanni and I'm the sound designer of Venice 2089 from Safe Play Studios. During sound production I try to make as many sounds as possible using the Foley method in order to achieve something unique. For example, the sound of a vase being pulled by the drone, it's a leather ball that's being scratched on a wooden surface. Most of the sounds you hear in game are made with something different from what you see. It is like hearing your recorded voice. You know how it sounds, but it's different from what you expected. So it is important for a sound designer to experiment with everything at our disposal to try and understand how we want anything to sound. The music of Venice 2089, it's dictated by the actions of the player. It changes depending on what vibes are collected by the player. The yellow vibe adds a feeling of life around you, and the blue one adds one of exploration. The red vibe adds a layer to the soundtrack, which makes it more dynamic. Most of the music is done with computer instruments, since the game is ambiented in the future, but some of it, especially what Grandpa listens to, is made with acoustic instruments to achieve the sound of music that he would listen to in his youth. A lot of passion and love is going into this project, and I can only hope that you'll enjoy the full experience as we're enjoying working on it.
Hi, my name is Iszac and I am a concept artist and animator for Venice 2089. Today I'm going to talk with you about the animation and our experience with the animation for this project. So, Venice 2089 characters design is surely something that really jumps out when looking at the game. In fact, is one of the elements that really cemented our view of the game as a 2D 3D mixture. However, it didn't come without its challenges. While creating a 2D character is way faster than modeling a 3D one, animating is still a complicated task. And in our cases, we have to deal with puppets. So the first step, of course, is making some sketches and doodles to better explore the character personality and appearance, and as well as the gesture and the poses. Then the final concept is prepared for putting bones and rigging all the body parts that are supposed to move of our puppet. And finally, it can be animated, giving life to all the animation and expressions of our beloved characters. Making puppets is very time consuming, but we're really proud of what we achieved. One example of successful animation is the drone. We love how it expresses feeling, and for this reason, sometime during the production, it became a kind of mascot for our project. Our next step in animation is making each of our beloved character as expressive as the drone. This work is going to take a while, but we think we are on the right path.
Hi, my name is Giacomo. I am the narrative designer and community manager for Safe Play Studio, and today I am going to talk a little bit more about the process of creating our game's narrative. So, when we were developing it, our focus was, other than the city of Venice itself, its inhabitants and the hardships of living in such a hostile environment. In fact, most of Venice's population have actually fled before the events of the game to try and rebuild a normal life inland, which already gives the city this feeling almost reminiscent of a ghost town. However, what we really wanted to focus on were the people who didn't leave and remained behind in their beloved city. These people who didn't live by choice, they had to get creative in order to deal with these day-long high tides, either by creating makeshift platforms on the side of their houses, or by using roofs for other structures, like the traditional Venetian's altane. They were not alone though. The city government bodies have also helped by creating waterproof structures and pavements for public usage. However, their work has been spotted at best, favoring the richest part of the city, and by creating a sense of insecurity and distrust in its citizens. In the game, Nova will meet a lot of unique characters, each one with their own personality and points of view regarding the city and life in general. By interacting with these characters and starting to know them, it will teach Nova a lesson on appreciating differences and how people can fight to live wherever they want and how to make their lives better.
today's behind the scenes video. We hope you liked it. Thank you so much for being with us. We'll be back tomorrow with a gameplay stream with Giovanni, and then we'll be back on Monday for a Q&A with some of us. So if you have any question about Venice 2089, just drop them here in the chat, or we'll have a form on the LudoNarraCon Discord where you can write all your questions and we'll try to get through all of them. We have a free demo here on Steam. We'd love if you could try it and tell us what you think. And yeah, if you like the game and wish to support us, wishlist the game on Steam and follow us on our social media channels. We'll try to keep you updated on everything. Thank you so much for your time and attention, and enjoy the event. Bye!
Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao.